Al-Dareyn Modern School hoyga aqoonta.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أبدأ بسؤال هذا عشان كذي biology from 2. وحن مركوا biology teacher غادر ما أنت مركوا حن كان لدونا the structure of human ear. Okay, so هروح أوصل على the structure and functions of human eye. أما قيلها إيش ندوها إيش وكسر مثلا هاي إيش قوي كده دوين ما أنت مركوا حاليا بل هاي one of other sense organs. Call it, or for example, will help us to hear something or to notice or to recognize a voice of someone or something. So let us get it straight. The human ear consists of the three parts. The outer ear, okay? The outer ear, the middle ear and the inner ear. So the outer ear is the funnel-like structure that you see or touch. So outer ear, so here, this is your outer ear. So you can touch or we can see. It's a like funnel structure. Its main function is to collect sound waves from the outside. So for example, this shape helps your ear or the outer structure of our ears to collect sound waves from the outside environment. And it directs this sound to tympanic membrane. Okay, so who is it, the tympanic membrane? So the tympanic membrane. So this membrane, then it further transmits the sound into the eardrum. Okay, so the eardrum finally will vibrate, and then the eardrum will also take the sound into the inner middle parts of the ear. So, sound waves. Tympanic membrane. Membrane has also been eardrum or the measure the middle and the outer ear. So the sound from the outer ear hits the eardrum. Okay, it hits the eardrum. Okay. The sound from the outside, when the outer part of our ear collects the sound waves, the sound waves will be directed to the eardrum. So when it hits the eardrum, what eardrum does is it vibrates. So this vibration of the eardrum moves the tiny bones, the small bones of the middle ear, which are called ossicles. Okay, so wave sound. Okay, so for example, this is your eardrum. Okay, so and here we have. So when the air hits here, the eardrum it creates vibration. So this vibration moves the small bones inside of the middle ear. Okay, so the vibration, and then finally they send vibration to the inner parts of the ear. Okay, so vibration the vibration to the inner part of the ear. So the inner is where finally it changes the sound waves into electrical signal. This electrical signal or electrical impulses then finally will be taken to the brain, and the brain will interpret or translate the information or what the kind of sound is that. We have two ears on each side of the head, which helps us to recognize the direction of the sound. So so this helps us to recognize the direction of the sun. So for example, if someone calls your name at the back or your back, you can easily recognize that this person is, at your back, or where he or she is at your left side or your right side. This is because due to the balance between our two ears. After here, the nerve encoded cochlea. Okay, so cochlea detects, it's an structure, it's another structure which is coiled. So this is a part of the inner ear. Inner ear. So cochlea detects the vibrations in the fluid and sends impulses along the auditory nerve to the brain. Okay. So when cochlea receives the vibration, it sends this vibration to the brain along the auditory nerve. Auditory nerve, a nerve passage. So the brain here, then the brain will analyze the sound. The brain analyzes the sound. Okay, it processes, and finally interpretation of the sound takes place. What kind of sound is this? Interpretation, okay, of the sound. What you hear is it a song? Is it a Quran recitation? Is it a man or woman? Is it male or female? Is it lion or whatever? Okay. Is it someone you know or someone you don't know? Okay. So the brain then finally interprets or translates the information in the brain. Okay. The three small bones of the middle ear are coded. Okay. So we said previously that they are the smallest, one of the smallest bones in the body. Okay. They are one of the smallest bones in the human body. In the human body. Okay. So they are called malleus, incus, and stapes. So they have these three funny names: malleus, incus, and stapes. Commonly they are called ossicles. Okay. sida caadiga marka waxa loo yaqaan ossicles, laakiin saddexda magacood marka kala leeyahay saddexda lafood ay ka samaysan tahay marka dhegta qaybteeda dhexe waa malleus, incus, and stapes. So they transmit these small bones. They transmit the sound waves from the eardrum to the inner ear. Okay. So eardrum, remember, it separates the middle ear from the outside or outer ear. Okay. So when the sound wave is hit or reaches the eardrum creates vibration. So this vibration then is transmitted to the inner part of the brain. The ear. So these small bones, they do that function. They transmit the sound waves from the middle ear to the inner ear. Okay. They increase or amplify the pressure of the sound waves. Okay. Because when we see, for example, here, okay, so for example, the opening, we have a small window here. Okay. So this small window that the sound waves are passing across creates more pressure. Okay. So the smaller the volume, the higher the pressure. So sound ossicles pressure So for example, because the cochlea, it contains liquid, so whenever the sound waves are passing through the liquid, they increase the pressure. The cochlea contains a fluid. Okay. Cochlea, it contains a fluid. Okay, this fluid helps us to balance, for example. Okay, it converts vibrations that created by the eardrum. Okay, so this vibration is created, this eardrum is created by the eardrum. So eardrum marka vibration uu sameeyay waxay u beddelaysaa marka cochlear electrical impulses, because the nerve impulse, the nerves they can only carry when the information is the form of electrical impulse or electrical signal. So the nerves they do not carry a sound waves like that, but this information should be changed into electrical impulses in order to transmit or carry to the brain for processing or interpretation into electrical signal or electrical impulses. The cochlea also transmits sound waves to the brain. Okay. So the brain then will does the rest of the function to finally translate the information. Okay, what kind of sound are you hearing at that moment? Okay, or for example, to differentiate, your friend is from a crowd of people. So let's say, for example, if you are in a bus, for example, okay, maybe 25 people. If all of these people are chatting with each other, and your friend, one of your friends, or maybe your mother or your father or someone you are familiar with, talks inside the bus, you can immediately identify that person. Okay, so you can maybe look and say, oh, okay. So it helps us to identify the kind of information or kind of sound waves we are really hearing at the moment. The eardrum, it separates the outer ear and the middle ear. It is a membrane between these two. Okay. Okay, so this is, for example, a structure. So this structure of this diagram shows us different parts of ear, or what we have discussed so far in the previous slides. So, for example, here we have a pinna. Okay, so this is called pinna. Okay, this final structure. This is the outside or outer part of our ear. So this is called pinna. Okay. So the sound, this final structure collects the information. Okay, it collects the sound waves. Okay. So when sound waves enter into the outer membrane, outer ear, then it directs the sound waves to go through this canal. Okay, and finally they hit the tympanic membrane. So tympanic membrane is also known as the eardrum. So when the sound waves arrive here, they will create a vibration, as we have seen. Okay, vibration. So this vibration is created by the eardrum. Moves the bones of the middle ear. So here you see, these are the bones. They are attached to the eardrum. Okay. So this is, for example, malleus. Malleus. This is incus, and this is, for example, this is stapes. Okay, and this is incus, and this is malleus. So whenever sound waves hits the eardrum makes or creates a vibration. So this vibration also causes the small bones in the middle ear to move. Okay, when they move forth and back, so they move forth and back. So this kind of movement also creates a pressure. Okay, so this pressure transmits the information, or maybe the sound wave, from the middle ear to the cochlea. So this is the cochlea. Okay, and this is also the inner part. This is the middle part. Okay, middle ear. This is we call middle ear. and this is the inner ear. Okay, and this is the outer ear. Here, in this way, we have the outer ear. Okay, so this creates, this movement transmits the sound waves from the middle ear to the cochlea. The cochlea then transmits or changes the sound waves into electrical impulses. It changes into electrical impulses. Okay, electrical signals or impulses. These electrical signals then finally will be transmitted or to the brain by the auditory nerve or cochlear nerve or auditory nerve, we could say. So then finally the information or the sound waves is taken to the brain. And your brain recognizes, interprets, processes, and analyzes what you have just heard. And then you finally recognize what type of sound you have just heard from maybe is your anything. Okay. Marka qaybtan sare waa qaybtii dibadda. Marka sound wave markuu qaybta soo galo waxay marka ku hagaajinaysaa maxay ahayd eardrum ama tympanic membrane. Then marka halka uu joogo waxaan nidhi green bay marka sameynaya ama vibration marka waa force and back. Okay. This vibration wuxuu sameynaya marka in dhaqaajiyo lafaha ku yaala maxay ahayd qaybta dhexe maxay ahayd dhigta. qaybta dhexe dhigta saddexda lafood minus incus iyo maxay stapes marka iyaguna dhaqaaqa sameeyaan force and back. Okay, they force and back waxa iyaguna marka pressure ku abuurayaan marka ay gudbinayaan marka sound wave marka wuxuu gaaraya maxay qaybta hoose dhigta oo la odhanayo waa cochlea marka maxay sameynaysaa information kii ama sound waves waxay u bedelaysaa maxay electrical form ama electrical impulses. Okay, so electrical impulses marka ayaa marka maskaxda la geenaya. maskaxda marka la geeyana waa la turjumay marka waxaad maqashay hadday hees tahay dee quraan aad degeysanaysay qof aad garanaysa hadduu yahay hadday bisadeceday whatsoever wuxuu yahay marka adigu waad garanaysaa markaas. Okay, marka intaa marka waxaan ka soo sheekeynay casharkeenan qaybihii dhegta. Okay, aan saddex marka hore u qaybinay waxaan u qaybinay the outer ear, middle ear and inner ear. qayb kasta marka waxaan ka soo sheekeynay the function ama shaqada ay qabato iyo maxay ahayd structure-keedu siduu yahay iyo sida sound waveska marka ay u gudbiso. Okay, intaasa marka casharkeena kusoo koobaya insha allah. wixii aad fahmi weydaan markaas waad igu soo celin kartaan si marka aynu uga jawaabna ama clarification ugu sameyno. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.